gadgets and gizmos up here, and I'm kind of curious to see how they're all going to work. Hopefully when y'all came in, you signed in, and everybody hopefully got one of these. If you didn't, you can raise your hand, I'll come around, but they are going to be videotaping this session today, so you get to be superstars, and this piece of paper here just says it's okay if you're on the video, that you're on the video. So if you don't have one of those and you need to sign one, raise your hand, I'll come bring you one. And with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Blair Ball. Blair Ball is a sales, marketing, and social media professional with over 20 years as an executive. He speaks, writes, coaches, conducts workshops, and blogs. He combines his passion for photography with his social media strategy to increase sales and raise funds for businesses and nonprofits. He has worked as a national sales and operations manager, marketing VP, and Eastern Division manager, just to name a few. His national division had annual revenues of $1.3 billion. Blair is the founder of prepare1, which is a social media strategy coaching and consulting company, working with businesses and individuals and nonprofits. He's also the founder of Blair Ball Photography. His works of photography have been published in the Memphis Magazine, the Commercial Appeal, Memphis Roadrunners, Memphis Motorsports Park, Memphis Sports Magazine, CBS Sports, and the Travel Channel. So, wow. We're going to take some really good pictures after this, right? So let's please welcome Blair Ball. We're very
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for coming out, and Mar for having me. I'm passionate about photography. I got into photography a few years ago, and one thing kind of led to the other, and I found out in social media also that pictures are a big thing, because if everything was text, nobody would want to see it. So, but we're going to focus on the photography today and taking better photos, and I'm sure some of your bosses may have said something to you before you came here, right, or encouraged you to come or all that. So you'll have a lot of good information. At the end, I'm going to pass out, I'm going to email you some tips and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to email you this presentation as well. You feel free to take notes, but I'm going to email you the presentation and then some free resources and things, and even some paid resources with some links to help you with this. So with that, we're going to get started. We got a lot of information to cover. So, all right, everybody now, I guess, is a photographer, right? We all got different kinds of cameras. We're going to talk about gadgets here at the end. So, the exterior photo is the most important photo that you can have. Many times it's the only photograph that the buyer, potential buyer, is going to see when they go to a website or a publication. So if it's not good, it's not appealing, they're going to go on and they're not going to look at the rest of the photos. So that's the most critical photo that you can have in your portfolio for in the MLS. So in summary, what are the three components of a good photograph? Light, composition, and the technical. Okay. All right, what about the light?
Behind you.
Behind you, understanding it, controlling it. Golden hours. What are the golden hours? Yeah, sunset, an hour or so. I meant, around sunrise, and an hour or so of sunset. Okay. So outside tips. Do you remember just one or two outside tips?
Sun behind you.
Yeah, sun behind you. Good?
Don't take a picture of the house dead on.
Yeah, there you go.
Angle.
Yeah. Because sometimes dead on, it's just human nature that we do that. But remember, composition in those anchor points. Statistics show that those anchor points, that's where people's eyes are drawn to. And though it's interesting with the studies that they've done, that people's eyes go to those anchor points more than the others. So it makes it just much more appealing.
I have a listing now that I just got.
Yeah.
And when I looked into MLS, the previous listing, it said it was a one-car detached garage. And I was like, where's the garage? And they took the picture dead on. So when I went out there, I took it at an angle so you can see the garage. And
so the first one didn't have it, and you got the garage in there.
I took it at an angle.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's the garage?
How do you do those bathrooms?
Difficult. Yeah, the best way is if you can at all possible, avoid flash, number one. And number two, try to get the best angle you can, maybe get back into the doorway to try to get as much as possible. Try to do some vertical That's another thing I didn't touch on really, but we could talk about. Take some vertical and take some horizontal shots. See sometimes what looks best in doing that. Always try to keep everything perpendicular. Like I said, when you're taking the image, especially in a smaller space, because anytime you tilt the lens forward or down or up, backwards, it's going to start distorting that image. So try to keep it all as parallel as you possibly can, that lens, to the image. Then from there, it's always a challenge, to get into post-processing to maybe straighten what we call the distortion or the barrel lines to make the perspective. So I think even on some smartphones, don't they have a grid? I think yeah. So compact flashes, I think almost every one of them now have the little grid. Just go to your manual if it's not showing, because I think most of them do now have that, where you have that grid. So that helps you in the composition of composing those images. Auto, what does auto do if you have, not in your smartphone, but if you're on your compact flash like this or other, what does auto do? It thinks for you. Okay. Is that a good thing? Sometimes, right? Sometimes. See, even as good as technology is, it doesn't, it doesn't always do that. It's on you and not on anything else. So I've seen people do it both ways. Do it in a studio with a little backdrop or whatever, and I see some people take it outside on a nice day early in the morning or later in the afternoon in a nice location and stuff like that. The only thing I would caution, again, if you're doing that kind of a portrait, is to make sure that you have the background is a little blurry and you're in focus. But and that's where a wide aperture like the 2.8 like we talked about and stuff like that comes into handy, because it'll focus more in on you, and it'll start to blur the background. If it's 5-10 feet in back of you, it'll be more soft, which is more appealing. Any other thoughts, questions? Well, again, thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Mar. Thank you, everyone, for taking out your busy schedule to come here. Thank you.